3 years ago, Gu Chen's father failed in stock trading, owed huge debts, went bankrupt, and jumped off the building. After his family was ruined, I mocked his affection as worthless garbage. It made me sick to look at it again, so I turned around and climbed up a high branch. 3 years later, Gu Chen made a comeback and became an upstart respected by everyone in Jiangcheng, and I lived on the streets, becoming a beggar who rummaged through garbage to eat. Finally, we met again on the night when the road was blocked by heavy snow. He was in a smart suit and tie, and I was wrapped in rags, like a dying wild dog. Facing him, I just subconsciously hid the dirty buns in my arms deeper. I want to leave the food to that person, and no one can take it away. 1. The shiny leather shoes stepped on my steamed buns. I looked up and saw a man in a coat, his face colder than the snow on the ground. Don't step on it. That's dinner for that person. I crawled over on my hands and feet, trying to protect the steamed bun. Lin Qian. A gnashing sound came from above. Who is he calling? Lin Qian? Oh, is this my name? It turns out he knows me. Lin Qian, where is your rich man? He got tired of playing and threw you away. When my family was ruined, you ran faster than anyone else. What a pity. Didn't you expect that the poor boy you threw away like garbage could go public in 3 years just by writing code? Now I have more money than I can spend in a lifetime. And what about you? Lin Qian, look at you now. Do you look like a dog? I couldn't understand what he was saying. I just felt danger. This uncle is so cruel. He stared at the steamed bun with a very hungry look in his eyes. He wants to eat too?
No.
I instinctively huddled up and squeezed into the corner. You can't snatch his he wants to eat. I was scared and instinctively wanted to shrink back. Why are you pretending? He suddenly put his hand into his arms. I was so scared that I held my head, thinking he was going to hit me. People who used to grab my bottle would hit me. But the expected pain did not come. Crack. A ball of red stuff hit me hard in the face. The sharp edge of the paper scratched my cheek, which hurt a little. The red pieces of paper scattered one after another and fell on the white snow, dazzlingly red. It's money. Lots and lots of money. Take the money and get out. Isn't that why you left in the first place? Is it enough for you now? I still have more, if it's not enough. What is he talking about? I don't understand it, but I know money is a good thing. When you have money, you can buy candy, and you can save it for that very important person. The uncle didn't move. He took out a cigarette from his arms and lit it. The smoke is choking. I coughed. It's so strange. Why do uncle's fingers keep trembling? The sparks on the cigarette burned for a long time and suddenly fell into his hand with a snap. That's fire. I've been burned, and I know it's very painful and can burn the skin. I wanted to tell him to get away, but the uncle didn't even frown. He just looked at me directly, his eyes turned red, as if he was about to cry or he was about to eat someone. I was scared and wanted to pull my hand back. But the next second, the uncle suddenly became fierce. He threw the cigarette butt on the ground and stamped it out. Before I could react, the shiny leather shoe lifted up and stepped heavily on the back of my hand. Well, I cried out in pain, and tears burst out of my eyes. What? Too young. He bent down and brought his face very close to her. Lin Qian, look at how mean you are now. It really makes me sick. Nausea? Are you saying I'm dirty? I looked at the dark windbreaker I was wearing, and then at his spotlessly clean coat. It's quite dirty. I retracted my hand in shame, not daring to touch the clean money or look at him. I was so ashamed that I could only use my other hand to pick up the steamed buns that had fallen on the snow and wipe them on my clothes desperately. Yes, I'm sorry, I whispered. Just wipe it, and it won't be dirty. The foot that was stepping on me froze. He stared at the steamed buns in my arms, as if he had seen some incredible monster. After a long time, he suddenly turned around, opened the car door, and got in. Drive. His voice was frighteningly loud. The black roared out, and exhaust sprayed on my face. It was hot and quickly turned cold. I sat in the snow, looked at the red banknotes on the ground, and then looked at the car lights in the distance. My heart felt empty, as if I had lost something important. I subconsciously pressed my belly. There was an iron box tied there. I felt relieved when I touched it. As long as you're still here. 2. Before I could finish picking up the red butterflies on the ground, I was picked up by 2 people. They were wearing black suits, and their fingers were almost embedded into my flesh, making my bones crack in pain. Let go, let me go. I struggled desperately. My money. Be honest. One of them yelled at me fiercely. Mr. Gu wants to see you. Mr. Gu? Who is Mr. Gu? I don't know him. I was bundled into a car, and it was so warm. My eyelids were twitching, and I felt so comfortable that I wanted to sleep. But I forced myself to keep my eyes open and couldn't sleep. As soon as I fell asleep, I would be thrown out. The car drove for a long time and stopped in front of a very big house. The house was lit with lights and was golden, like a palace. I was pushed into the house. The good-looking uncle, who gave me money in the snow, is sitting on the sofa, holding a glass of red water in his hand. He glanced at me, and his brows instantly furrowed into the character Sichuan. It stinks like hell. He covered his nose in disgust. Lin Qian, is your smell so bad to disgust me? I shrank back in fear. No, it doesn't stink. I defended in a low voice. I washed it in the snow yesterday. Shut up. He grabbed me by the collar and dragged me directly to the next room. Wash clean. He turned on the shower, and the hot water suddenly spurted out, and white mist suddenly hit my face. Ah! I screamed, holding my head and trying my best to get into the corner. Help! Don't burn me! It hurts! I cried, trying to crawl out on my hands and feet. The bad uncle stood in the mist and looked at me coldly. Lin Xian, your acting skills are really getting better and better. You used to like taking baths the most, but now you're even afraid of hot water? You really want me to think you're crazy? Do you want me to be soft-hearted? I couldn't understand what he was talking about. I just felt that my skin hurt, and the mist was very choking. No water, no water. I hid in the corner. I will be good, don't burn me. Since you're afraid of getting burned, wash it yourself. The bad uncle threw the shower head hard on the ground. Don't come out until it's clean. He turned around and slammed the glass door. I looked at the shower head that was still spraying water and was too scared to move. After a long time, the water became a little colder, so I cautiously rubbed it in. I didn't dare to take off my clothes because there was money hidden in the iron box tied to my stomach. If I took it off, the bad uncle would snatch it away. Wearing that dirty windbreaker, I sat on the ground and wiped my face with cold water. Just wash your face and it'll be fine. It will no longer stink after washing your face. When I came out of the bathroom dripping wet, the bad uncle was sitting on the sofa. His face darkened even more when he saw me soaked but still wearing dirty clothes. Come here, he said coldly. I dare not go there. I glanced at the leather sofa, then looked down at my torn shoes that were covered in mud. I would stain the floor and get scolded. So I shook my head, carefully shrank to the corner, and then squatted down, hugging my knees like I did in the park. I can just squat here. I smiled at him flatteringly. I won't stain the floor. Bang. The beautiful glass was smashed to the ground by him, and red water splashed everywhere, like blood. I shivered with fright and covered my ears tightly. He strode over, grabbed me by the collar, lifted me up like a chicken, and threw me directly onto the white sofa. Ugh. My steamed bun fell out. That's my treasure. I was about to pick it up when he kicked me away. Lin Xian, why are you pretending to be pitiful? He pinched my chin. When you left 3 years ago, weren't you quite dashing? Why doesn't your rich man want you now? 3 years ago? This number sounds so familiar. I couldn't turn my head around. The fog in my mind was getting thicker and thicker, making my head hurt. It hurts. I looked at him with tears in my eyes. Uncle, it hurts. His fingers winced violently. He looked at the familiar yet unfamiliar face in front of him, and his movements froze for a second. In her memory, Lin Xian always had bright eyes. When did she ever have such confused eyes like a newborn cub? At that moment, he even had a trace of absurd doubt. Was she really? But the next second, those words from 3 years ago stung his nerves. Gu Chun, I feel sick when I see you. The confusion in his eyes was instantly covered by deeper disgust, and his fingers tightened suddenly. It hurts? Do you know it hurts? Lin Xian, when you stabbed me that time, did you ever think about whether it would hurt? I didn't stab anyone. I don't even dare to kill a chicken. I want to tell him that you remembered it wrong. It must have been the bad guy who stabbed him, not me. But when I opened my mouth, my mind suddenly felt like it was stuck. The words he wanted to say were clearly on his lips, but he couldn't form a complete sentence. Knife. I thought hard for a long time before I squeezed out a few broken words. No knife. I didn't take a knife. The more anxious I got, the thicker the fog in my mind became, and the feeling of powerlessness made my anxious eyes turn red. It's not me, really. I could only repeat these simple words over and over again, hoping to convince him to believe me. When he looked at me like this, the hatred in his eyes became even deeper. He let go of his hand, took out a tissue, and wiped his fingers in disgust, as if he had just touched something dirty. Then he picked up a red hard card from the table and threw it at me. You see clearly. He sneered and said, I'm getting married next month. She is younger and prettier than you, and more importantly, she loves me. I picked at the card. Red with gold letters printed on it. It's so beautiful and beaming with joy. Even though I didn't recognize the small print, I knew it was good stuff. When I was a kid, the house next door would give out candy during wedding events. Marriage, good. I touched the golden happy character and smiled stupidly. Do you have any candy? The air suddenly became eerily quiet. Bad uncle stared at me, his chest heaving violently. Lin Xian. He suddenly yelled, grabbing the invitation and tearing it into pieces. Don't. Not knowing where I got the strength, I rushed over and hugged his hand. Don't tear it apart. It looks good. I was so anxious that I almost burst into tears. Leave it to him. He also said he wanted to marry me. His movements froze, and his eyes became a little strange. What did you say? Who did you leave it to? I sniffed and said, seriously, he is the most important person to me. He said he wanted to marry me. This red piece of paper looks good. Keep it for him. The bad uncle looked at me and suddenly laughed. Lin Xian, you're really good. He smiled and stuffed the invitation back into my arms, his movements rough, as if venting his anger. Want to keep it? Okay, then you can keep it. Open your dog eyes and watch carefully how I married someone else. After saying that, he slammed the door and turned away. I hugged the red invitation like a baby. Although I was very hungry, and although the bad uncle was very fierce, I was still very happy. I took out the tin box from my pocket, folded the invitation carefully, and tried to stuff it inside. But the invitation was too big and couldn't fit in. I was so anxious that I was spinning around. In the end, I could only hide it in close-fitting clothes and stick it tightly to my chest. It's the safest here, and no one can take it away. I miss you. I leaned on the corner of the sofa, closed my eyes, and muttered to myself, "Where are you?" The iron box on my waist hurt me. I touched that spot, and a blurry picture flashed through my mind. There was a boy wearing a t-shirt and smiling at me. His smile was so warm, warmer than the sun. He said, "Qian, eat more meat." I put 3 spoons of sugar in the sweet and sour pork ribs this time. It's sweet and delicious. That voice is so familiar, but I can't remember who it is. 3. At dawn, a fat aunt in gray clothes came in. She was holding a big black bag in her hand, which was for garbage. Just now, when no one was around, I took out all the things hidden in the pockets of my dirty windbreaker and placed them neatly on the coffee table. Half a dry and hard steamed bun, a red wedding invitation, 3 colorful candy wrappers that smelled of strawberry that I picked up on the roadside before, and most importantly, a rusty tin can box. This is my piggy bank. Like a miser, I counted them over and over again. Ouch, what a sin. The fat aunt suddenly screamed, Mr. Goo, come and take a look. What kind of garbage did this beggar bring into the house? It stinks." Rubbish? I was stunned. There is no garbage here. I left these for him. He likes strawberry candy, and he hasn't eaten yet. Before I could protect my things, there was another rush of footsteps at the door. That handsome and fierce uncle is here. "What's going on?" he asked impatiently. "Look," the fat aunt pointed at my treasure with a look of disgust on her face. "The moldy steamed buns, rotten iron boxes, and these dirty papers have stained your imported leather coffee table. This room smells sour." The bad uncle came over and looked down. His brows instantly furrowed into the character Chuan. Lin Qian. He looked at me. "Are you disgusting me? Bring your garbage picking style to my house." I shook my head desperately. "It's not garbage," I explained in a low voice and smoothed out the candy wrappers. When I smelled the smell, my throat felt dry and my stomach growled unsatisfactorily. I really want to take a lick, just take a lick of the fragrance on it. But I looked at the pitiful colored candy wrapper in my hand, and the hand that reached my mouth retracted as if I was electrocuted. No, this is that person's life-saving medicine. It's not rubbish. I protected the candy wrapper, my face flushed with anxiety. "Medicine, this is Ah Chen's medicine." I pointed to my head and then to my mouth. "Dizzy, eat candy. It won't make you dizzy if it's sweet." I put the candy wrapper under my nose, took a deep breath, and handed it to him. "It's fragrant, smell it, don't feel dizzy." The bad uncle was stunned for a moment. There was a strange glint in his eyes, but that glint soon turned into greater anger. "Hypoglycemia?" He sneered, suddenly raised his hand and waved it on the coffee table. "Looking at your moldy affection makes me sick to my stomach." Wow. All my babies were swept to the floor. The tin box rolled to the corner, the lid was opened, and the coins inside were scattered on the floor, making a jingling sound. That's all my belongings, a total of $3.50. "Don't want." I screamed and rushed to pick it up. "Throw it away," he said coldly to the fat aunt. "Throw it all out. If I see this garbage again in the future, I will throw it away with everyone." "Okay." The fat aunt rushed over with a broom and dustpan and swept all my steamed buns and candy wrappers into the black garbage bag like sweeping dust. "Don't, please." I knelt on the ground and held on to the corner of the garbage bag. "Give it back to me. It's for him. He'll be hungry if he doesn't eat." The fat aunt was so strong that she kicked me in the hand. I let go, and the garbage bag was taken away. The door was closed again. The room became quiet again. I lay on the ground and looked at the empty coffee table. It felt like someone had dug out a piece of flesh in my heart. It hurt so much that I couldn't breathe. No more. All gone. The rice is gone and the sugar is gone. What a useless fool I am. I caught a glimpse of the corner, and my eyes suddenly lit up. The tin box is still there. You rolled too far just now, and the fat aunt didn't see you. I crawled over on my hands and knees, held the rusty box in my arms, and groped under the sofa for a long time before I found the $1 coin that had been rolled in. Very good. I put the coin into the box and listened to the small crunching sound, bursting into tears and laughing. Okay. I pressed my face against the cold iron sheet. The money is still there. I didn't dare to speak anymore, so I just put my fingers in and groped over and over again on the coins. There was a slight noise behind him. I turned around and saw that the bad uncle hadn't left yet. He stood in the doorway, clutching the doorframe with his knuckles turning white. He looked at me with so complicated eyes. "It seems like you want to kill me, but also like sad? Strange. Why is he sad when he is so rich?" "Lin Qian." His voice was hoarse. "Are you pretending to be crazy, or have you really forgotten all your sense of shame?" "I don't understand what shame means. All I know is that I have to hide the box." So in front of him, I lifted up my clothes, stuffed the cold iron box into my clothes, and tightened it with my belt. "Hide it." I smirked at him. "No one can take it away." "Madman." He looked at my movements, cursed, and left as if running away. 4. I stayed in this big house for 3 days. Although the bad uncle was very cruel, he didn't really throw me out. But when I woke up in the morning, I couldn't find the toilet. This house is so big, there are doors everywhere, and every door looks the same. The toilet! Where's the toilet? I was so anxious that I stamped my feet and walked in circles in the corridor. There used to be a sign with a little figure painted on the toilet door of the orphanage. I searched in this long corridor for a long time, and there was nothing on the bare walls. My stomach hurts more and more, like a balloon about to explode. I want to hold it back, but my body doesn't seem to be my own anymore. A stream of hot water flowed down the base of his leg uncontrollably. The pants are wet. Ah, I panicked. How so? I have grown up, the dean's mother said. Only babies wet their pants. Wetting your pants is bad behavior, and you'll be laughed at. There was also a large area of wetness on the floor. I was terrified. If that fat aunt sees me, she will call me a dirty thing again. If my uncle sees me, he will definitely throw me out to feed the dogs. I quickly squatted down and wiped the water on the ground with my sleeves. I wanted to dry it off and pretend nothing happened. But the sleeves were also wet. They became dirtier as they were rubbed, and an unpleasant smell wafted into the air. What are you doing? A loud shout suddenly sounded above his head. I froze. I knew it was the bad uncle without looking up. Completion. I closed my eyes in despair. The bad uncle stood there. His face was frighteningly white, and his lips were trembling. The look in his eyes when he looked at me was no longer the fierce one before, but a kind of fear that I couldn't understand. Gu Chun was stunned. Lin Qian squatted in the puddle of water and wiped the floor with her sleeves. Her sleeves were already soaked, and she was still wiping them, like a child who had done something wrong. The smell hit his nostrils, but he ignored the nausea, and a chill ran straight from his spine to his forehead. He had been observing her for the past 3 days. He thought she was acting, playing a down-and-out beggar to gain sympathy. But can someone with the best acting skills be able to act like this? Can you even give up the most basic dignity as a human being? Lin Qian, he yelled, stand up. I was so frightened that I sat down on the ground, right in the puddle of water. It's completely over now. I burst into tears. I'm sorry, uncle. I cried while shrinking back, like a drowned dog. I didn't mean it. I can't find the toilet. I can't find my home either. I'm not a dirty thing. Don't throw me. Don't throw me. I cried until I couldn't breathe and was incoherent. The fog in my mind began to stir again, and I recalled some vague images. That person? I cried and buried my head in my knees. He doesn't think I'm dirty. I remember one time, my stomach hurt so much, and when I woke up, there was a large area of red on the sheets. I thought he would scold me for soiling the quilt, but he didn't. He hugged me and changed the dirty sheets. He also rubbed his warm hands and put them on my stomach. He kissed my forehead and said, "Be good, Qian Qian, it won't hurt after you sleep." Where are you? I cried and shouted into the air, desperately trying to catch the blurry shadow. Help me. I'm afraid. Who are you calling? His voice was soft and ghostly, but filled with a bone-chilling chill. I raised my head blankly and looked at him. I'm looking for that person who treats me well. He will give me a bath. He doesn't think I'm dirty. The corners of Gu Chen's eyes twitched fiercely. Okay, he doesn't think you're dirty, right? I do. A hand suddenly reached out and grabbed my arm. It was so hard that it made my bones hurt. He pulled me up from the ground and dragged me directly into the bathroom next to me. Wash. He turned on the shower and poured cold water over the head. Wash it for me. Wash all the dirty things that man left for you. The water is so cold. I was shivering with cold and huddled in the corner, afraid to move. He was also wet, ice water dripping down the legs of his suit trousers, but he seemed not to feel it. Just stared at me. In 3 years, you've been living like this? Where's that man? He grabbed my wrist and yelled. Where's that rich man? Is he dead? He just lets you pick up garbage to eat. I don't understand. I just want to go home. I struggled desperately to escape from this cold hell. Let me go. I won't wash. It's cold. Save me, save me. Shut up. The bad uncle was enraged, and he roughly tried to tear off my dirty coat stained with urine. Tear off your skin and wash it clean? No, you can't take it off. I screamed. There was money for that man and an iron box hidden in my clothes, so he couldn't take them away. I held onto the collar tightly and bit his hand like a madman. Hiss. The sound of shredding fabric echoed through the bathroom. In that violent tug, the strip of cloth wrapped around my waist came loose. There was a loud clang, and the rusty iron box that I had tied so tightly hit the bathroom tiles hard. The lid of the box fell open, and the 3 50-cent coins inside rolled to the floor. Another paper bag wrapped tightly in layers of plastic bags also slipped out and lay quietly on the waterlogged floor tiles. Gu Chen's movements suddenly stopped. His eyes followed the rolling box and slowly moved to Lin Qian. Because her coat was torn open, more than half of her thin sweater underneath was lifted up. Under the bright lights of the bathroom heater, her skin was exposed. The skin on the abdomen was red, swollen, and ulcerated because it had been strangled by rusty iron boxes for many years. There were even black blood scabs in some places, which were washed away by the cold water just now, leaving turbid blood flowing. The most terrifying thing is that on the left side of the waist that should have been smooth and clean, there is an old scar that is twisted and twisted like a centipede. The scar was ferocious and twisted, sewn like a mended sack, and a large piece of flesh was dented, as if someone had dug something away. The air seemed to have frozen, and only the shower head was still gurgling with cold water. 5. Gu Chen's eyes moved along the scar, to the location of the kidney on the left side of the waist. The anonymous remittance of 300,000 yuan from 3 years ago suddenly flashed through my mind. No, impossible. He turned his head away suddenly and dug his fingers into the armrests of the sofa, his fingernails turning white. He didn't dare to look, didn't dare to think, didn't dare to acknowledge the answer that was shouting crazily in his mind. Don't pretend to be pitiful. His voice was trembling, as if he was trying to convince himself. Lin Qian, is this your glorious achievement while fighting wild dogs for food outside? He didn't ask again, didn't even look again, and left the bathroom as if running away. The next day, the bad uncle dressed me in a beautiful red dress and said he would take me somewhere. But the skirt was too big and felt empty on my body, and it felt chilly when the wind blew into it. In order to prevent the iron box from falling, I found a strip of cloth, tied it tightly around my waist, and put the red skirt on it. It was so tight, and the rusty iron horns were pinching my ribs, which had only one layer of skin. It hurt. But I didn't dare to let go. Only when I tightened it did I feel safe. I'm afraid that if I let go a little bit, my treasure will be snatched away by the bad uncle again. Don't embarrass me. Uncle looked at me coldly, reached out and grabbed my arm. His hand was so hot that I flinched. He took me to a noisy and bright place. There were lights everywhere, which made my eyes hurt. People around were wearing bright clothes, holding goblets, talking and laughing elegantly. Among these people, I saw a beautiful sister wearing a white dress. She's so pretty. The beautiful sister saw her uncle and immediately came over holding up her skirt. You're here. She took the bad uncle's arm and then looked at me in surprise. But she soon smiled, that kind of smile. How should I put it? He seemed to pity me and also seemed to dislike me. Is this Ms. Lin? She covered her mouth and exclaimed in a low voice, "Oh my God, how did she become like this?" Then she turned her head and looked at the bad uncle, her eyes filled with distress. Don't be too sad. Although she abandoned you for money back then, but seeing how miserable she is now, it can be regarded as evil is rewarded. You can still take her with you and take care of her. You're already doing your best. I listened blankly. What is she talking about? What abandonment? What kind of evil is punished by evil? I looked at that beautiful sister and felt so strange. She was obviously smiling and saying nice things, but why did I feel like she was scolding me? The bad uncle patted her hand and was very pleased with the comfort. He said coldly, I brought her here just to show her how stupid her choice was. The beautiful sister smiled even sweeter and rested her head on her uncle's shoulder. Let bygones be bygones. We will be happy in the future. I looked at them being affectionate, and suddenly I felt a little sour in my heart. It's not because of jealousy, it's because, what a pity. This sister is so beautiful, but she doesn't know that this uncle is a bad guy. He would throw away other people's buns and steal other people's money. I wanted to remind her, but I didn't dare to speak. I'm afraid that the bad uncle will throw me out to feed the dogs again. Just then, a big fat man came over. His belly was so big, it looked like he was carrying a watermelon. Mr. Gu, is this your ex-girlfriend? Come back to pretend to be crazy and act stupid again? The fat man took a step forward, and the strong smell of alcohol hit my nose. But Mr. Gu is also kind-hearted. You are the only one who is willing to pick up these worn-out shoes and keep them as toys. As he spoke, he pretended to inadvertently shake his hand, and the red wine in the cup spilled out, splashing on the cuffs of the bad uncle's expensive suit. Oops, I'm sorry. My hand slipped. The fat man apologized, but his face was filled with a provocative smile. Mr. Gu has a lot of money. He shouldn't care about rough people like us, right? Just like you don't care about this woman's past. The bad uncle looked at the wine stains on his sleeves, and his eyes seemed to be covered with ice, but he didn't get angry. He just took out the square towel from his chest and wiped the stain bit by bit. After wiping, he casually threw the square towel at the fat man's feet. Mr. Wong is joking. The uncle's voice was very soft, but there was a chill in his bones. As a person, I love cleanliness the most. Dirty things, whether they are clothes or people. His eyes coldly glanced at me, who was huddled behind him, and the corner of his mouth curved with a hint of irony. I keep it just to remind myself how bad my vision was back then. It's not bad to use it as a negative teaching material. The people around him burst into low laughter. The fat man's face became ugly, but because there were so many people present, he could only apologize in embarrassment. Although I couldn't understand the words, I knew he was swearing. His voice was so high-pitched, and the flesh on his face was trembling, so fierce. He is bullying his uncle. The fog in my mind suddenly lifted a little. I vaguely remember that a long time ago, someone bullied that person like this. At that time, the man was kneeling on the ground, and those people poured dirty water on him and called him a lost dog. The body moves faster than the brain. Without thinking, I rushed out and stood in front of my uncle. You are not allowed to bully him. I panicked and grabbed the wine glass on the table. My hand shook and the red wine spilled out, hitting the fat man in the face. The wine flowed down the fat man's face into his open mouth and stained his white shirt red. The world suddenly became quiet. The fat man wiped his face, trembling with anger, and raised his hand to hit me. You crazy bitch. I closed my eyes in fear, squatted on the ground with my head in my hands, and shivered. Run, run. I whispered. I'll help you block it. I'm not afraid of pain. The slap did not fall. A hand grabbed the fat man's wrist. I opened my eyes secretly and saw the bad uncle standing in front of me. Guchen, what do you mean? Do you allow your mad dog to bite people? The fat man roared. Uncle shook off his hand and turned to look at me. His face was darker than before, as black as the bottom of a pot. Lin Xian. I thought he was complimenting me. Chen said before that if someone bullies him, I will help him fight back. That is bravery. So I got up from the ground and smiled at him flatteringly. Uncle, I helped you fight off the monster. I saw a drop of wine stain on his expensive suit, which was accidentally splashed just now. Wipe it. Wipe it clean and it won't be dirty. I quickly reached out my hand. Although the red dress on my body was slippery and clean, my hands were rough. I grabbed the expensive silk skirt and wiped it hard on his chest like a rag. The red wine stain spread, making his white shirt even more ugly. Wipe it. Wipe it clean and it won't be dirty. Guchen lowered his head and looked at Lin Xian, who was standing on tiptoe, clumsily but earnestly wiping the stains on his chest, just like how she wiped his sweat many years ago when he came back from playing golf covered in stinky sweat. The long-lost feeling of being protected by her wholeheartedly made the blood in his body freeze. For a moment, he even forgot about the guests around him and just stared at the crazy woman in front of him, his eyes feeling inexplicably sore. Oh my God, what a madman. The jeers whispered around him pierced his hallucinations like needles. How could Mr. Gu bring such a person out? It's so embarrassing. Suddenly, the bad uncle pushed my hand away. His strength was so strong that I staggered back several steps before I could stand firm. Go away. His voice was as cold as an ice cellar. Lin Xian, do you think I will be moved by pretending to be crazy and acting stupid like this? He looked at me with disgust in his eyes. You just make me feel sick. Nausea? Am I disgusted? I stood there blankly, my hands still raised in the air. I just don't want him to be bullied. I wanted to explain, but looking at his cold eyes, my throat seemed to be blocked and I couldn't say a word. It turns out that even if I help him fight monsters, he won't give me candy. He would just push me away and find me disgusting. 6. The bad uncle dragged me out of the banquet hall like a dead dog. The snow outside is getting heavier. He stuffed me into the back seat, then got in and locked the door. He came closer to me, his beautiful eyes full of violent fire. What? Do you think you are great? He grabbed my chin hard. Pour me a glass of wine and the past will be settled. Lin Xian, when you abandoned me back then, you looked so upright and awe-inspiring. I burst into tears of pain and shrank into the corner desperately. It hurts, uncle, it hurts. It hurts. He sneered and put more strength on his hand. You also know it hurts? Lin Xian, when you stabbed me that time, did you ever think about whether it would hurt? Although I couldn't quite understand what he said, I could feel the hatred rushing towards me. This uncle is really scary. I was afraid that he would hit me, and I was even more afraid that he would take away the money I left for that person. In extreme panic, a vague shadow suddenly flashed in my mind. That shadow would always hug me gently and tell me, don't be afraid. Driven by instinct, I cried and called out the name that was hidden deepest in my heart. Don't bully Chen. The bad uncle's movements suddenly froze, and the carriage was as silent as death, except for the sound of my sobbing. I repeated vaguely, Chen, don't be afraid. No one can catch you. I have money. Drive. The bad uncle suddenly let go of his hand and sat back on the other side. He turned his head and looked out the window, no longer looking at me, but I saw his hand on his knee was trembling violently. Back in the big house, he threw me to the ground. I'm scared. I wanted to hide, but I was so hungry. Today at the banquet, I saw a lot of candies on the table, but I didn't dare to take them. I looked at the bad uncle, who was sitting there angry again. He looked so sad, even sadder than me. I thought about it, took out the red wedding invitation that I had kept close to my body, slowly moved over, stretched out my hand, and gently tugged on his sleeve. Uncle. He turned his head sharply, his eyes as fierce as if he wanted to eat someone. Get away. I shrank my neck in fright, but still mustered up the courage to hand the crumpled wedding invitation to him. This is for you. I smiled at him flatteringly. It's red, it looks good. Gu Chan was stunned. He looked at the invitation that I had kneaded like a pickle. What do you want to do? He asked coldly. I swallowed and pointed to the candy dish on the coffee table. I'll give you the joy, can you exchange it for candy? I stretched out a finger and gestured carefully. Just one. Give it to him. I pointed to my mouth and then to my heart, gesturing anxiously. He's bitter here. If he eats sugar, it's sweet, he won't cry. I raised the crumpled wedding invitation and stuffed it into his hand flatteringly. This red one looks good. Can I give it to you in exchange for candy? The air was dead silent. Guchen looked at me with an expression as if he had been punched, but also as if he didn't understand what I was saying. After a long time, he suddenly laughed, grabbed a handful of candy, and hit me hard. Change. Here it is. The one who fed it to you. The candy hit me, it hurt a little, but I was very happy. I quickly lay down on the ground, picked up the candies one by one, and stuffed them into my pocket. Thank you, Uncle. Thank you, Uncle. Just when I bent down to pick up the candy, the cloth strip around my waist came loose. The tin box fell out of her skirt and hit the floor heavily. His eyes were instantly attracted. Why do you still keep this box? He rushed over and grabbed the box on the ground. Give it back to me. That's life-saving. I grabbed it like crazy, biting the candy I just picked up, and shouted vaguely, That's for him. Let me go. He pushed me away and opened the lid. The box was opened and the contents were scattered on the floor. He picked up a piece of yellowed carbon paper from the pile. The paper was stained with brown dried blood and was wrinkled. He saw the words on it clearly. Voluntary donation/surgery informed consent form. At that moment, I saw my uncle's pupils shrink to the size of a pinhead. He stared at the paper, his lips trembling, and read the line of black words on it. Left kidney removal, compensation $300,000. After hearing these words, the area on my waist suddenly felt so painful. Stop reading it. Uncle, stop reading it. I held my head and huddled up, and many red shadows suddenly emerged from the white fog in my mind. Here you, money is given to you. Don't cut off his hand. Write code. Don't break his hand. 300,000. The interest is enough, please. Don't hit auction. There is money in the flesh. The bad uncle raised his head, rushed over like crazy, and lifted up the back of my red skirt. No. Ugly. I screamed and tried to hide. Don't look. There's a big bug over there. It's so ugly. But he didn't listen at all. The fragile fabric was torn by him. The cold air suddenly hit my lower back. On the originally smooth skin, there was a long, ferocious, and twisted scar. The stitches of the scar were as rough as the soles of shoes, and the surrounding flesh was sunken, like a mouth that could never be closed, silently accusing the unknown transaction. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. A long dead silence. Finally, he reached out and touched the depression. There was a piece missing, and it was empty. His whole body felt like he had been splashed with strong sulfuric acid, and he let out a heart-rending retching sound. I already told you it's ugly. You insist on seeing it. I pointed at the scar and then at the piece of paper on the ground, eager to explain, but the words in my mind were like broken beads that couldn't be stringed together. That's money, Uncle, look. The uncle in white clothes takes a knife and cuts here. It hurts. It really hurts. If you cut it off, you'll get money. The big bad guy won't beat Achin anymore. Give it all to him. If he gets the money, he will be fine. If he is fine, I won't feel any pain. Guchin opened his mouth wide as he listened to these crazy words, but couldn't make a sound. Only tears welled up from his eyes. I looked at him in confusion as I ate the candy. At this moment, his hand accidentally touched a small bottle rolling down on the ground. The empty medicine bottle rolled into his hand. At the same time, he saw a note stuffed in the medicine bottle. He grabbed the bottle and pulled out the paper. It was a diagnosis notice of early onset Alzheimer's disease. The date of diagnosis was exactly 1 month before he and Lin Xian broke up. The notes on the case sheet read, the patient refused to inform his family. The reason for the refusal was that he was afraid that he would give up the programming and come back to take care of me. Alzheimer's disease? The breakup was actually because you were sick. He raised the empty medicine bottle and smashed it on the ground. Glass shards flew and scratched his cheek, and blood seeped out. So, you have been living with this disease for the past 3 years? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you treat it? I shrank my neck when he yelled and almost dropped the candy in my mouth. It's cured. It's cured. I'm very good. The doctor prescribed medicine for me. 200 yuan, a lot of money. I counted on my fingers with difficulty. The medicine is too expensive. I shook my head. I won't take it. Xian won't take it. That aunt said, if you don't take medicine, you will become stupid. I was a little scared, but I grinned again. It doesn't matter if you become a fool. Achin is rich. Achin is smart. Gu Chun knelt on the ground. He looked at the pit on Lin Xian's waist and her flattering smile. He suddenly raised his hand and slapped himself. He thought the anonymous remittance of 300,000 yuan from a mysterious and kind person helped him pay off the most urgent interest payment on the loan shark and saved his hands that made the first pot of gold on the keyboard. It turned out that Lin Xian sold her kidney in exchange for it. It turns out that her rapid deterioration in the past 3 years was not because the disease was too severe, but because she voluntarily gave up resistance for those few $100. Between the $200 and her own brain, she chose the $200 without hesitation. The crisp sound of a slap echoed in the room. Then came the second and third blow. I am a beast, I am a beast. Each slap was done with all his strength. Blood flowed from the corners of his mouth, and his cheeks swelled rapidly. You turn yourself into a fool just to save money. I thought you were dirty, and I told you to get out. He thought she ran away with someone because she disliked being poor and loved being rich, but in fact she just gave him all her money. She watched herself soberly as she rotted away and went crazy a little bit, just to dig out a little bit of her future for him from between her teeth. I touched his head in confusion. So strange. Why did the bad uncle suddenly cry and hit himself? What happened to him? Was he bullied by someone? I hesitated for a moment, then reached out and patted his head gently. Uncle, don't cry, it hurts so much. I spit out the half-dissolved candy in my mouth and handed it to his mouth. I have some candy to share with you. This candy is so sweet. 7. The bad uncle knelt on the ground crying and beat himself for a long time. It took so long that I counted the $3.50 on the ground 10 times, but he still didn't stop. Then the doorbell rang. A beautiful sister walked in. She looked so angry and sad. She kept talking loudly at the door, and the makeup on her face was stained with tears. I didn't understand why she was crying. I just thought she looked so pitiful. I wanted to give her the 50 cents I picked up, but my uncle stopped me. The uncle tore the red wedding invitation into pieces in front of his sister and then said fiercely to her, "We are not getting married." The beautiful sister covered her face and ran away crying. I looked at the broken pieces of red paper on the ground and felt so sad. What a pity. That piece of paper is red. So festive. So much joy was shattered. He wanted to come and hold my hand. Qian, the ground is cold.